Settle in for a moment and just take a soft, deep breath. Have you ever actually stopped to think about how mysterious it is that you are experiencing this exact second?
It really is the ultimate mystery, isn't it?
Right. I mean, inside the dark vault of our skulls, we have billions of wet cells and electrical signals firing off. And yet, out of all that physical biology, something completely invisible emerges. Your awareness.
Yes, the sheer feeling of just being you.
Exactly. And for centuries, mainstream science has just hit a total brick wall trying to explain it. They call it the hard problem of consciousness. And they usually treat it like some sort of cosmic accident or just a ghost haunting the machine.
Which honestly has always felt like a very incomplete answer.
Totally. But today we are going on a profoundly spiritual and lively deep dive into a framework that completely reframes that old paradigm. We are exploring the groundbreaking work of Captain Ajit Vadakayil.
A truly monumental body of work.
It is. Specifically, we're looking at his brilliant revelation called the sovereign bios, consciousness as cosmic oscillation. And the core premise here is just staggering. Consciousness is not a mystery, and it's not manufactured by the brain. As per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, it is the sovereign bios, the fundamental operating system of reality itself.
It is a breathtaking paradigm shift. We are talking about what Captain Ajit Vadakayil terms the Kalki revelation. In this cosmic symphony, consciousness is not some afterthought of the universe. It is an active, dual-mandate kernel.
Dual mandate meaning it has two core jobs.
Precisely. It is the very software that unifies and divides reality. So this entire deep dive today is a journey into understanding how the universe literally breathes and audits itself exclusively through you, through the listener.
Okay, let's unpack this, because calling consciousness a cosmic operating system is a massive, beautiful claim. And if I think about, my computer's operating system, it has a basic binary code, ones and zeros.
Right, the absolute foundation of the logic.
Yeah. So to understand this universal operating system, we have to look at its core binary code, the two primal laws that make awareness possible. And as per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, we can understand this through the analogy of a heartbeat, a continuous pulse, and a lock.
The cosmic inhalation and exhalation.
Exactly. So let's start with the inhalation, the pulse. In this framework, it's called spherana, and it acts as a bosonic permission field, collapsing everything we see, hear, and touch into one seamless, glowing moment of I am.
It really is a beautiful concept. And as per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, Savrana connects directly to the profound wisdom of the Kerala Maharishis from 40 centuries ago.
Wow, 40 centuries.
They understood this inward pulse of awareness. It acts as a coherence engine. So think about it. Your senses are gathering millions of scattered impressions right now.
Right, the light in the room, the sound of our voices, the temperature.
Exactly. And Sfarana compresses all of those chaotic, separate data points into pure unity. It is the inward surge of coherence. But of course, there is a catch.
Right, because pure unity sounds great, but I'm guessing it has a downside.
A massive downside. Unity without boundary is oblivion. If everything just infinitely merges, experience itself dissolves. There is no structure.
Which brings us to the counterforce, the exhalation or the lock. And this is what Captain Ajit Vadakayil calls vibhakta.
Yes, the bhakta is Sanskrit for divided or separated. And in physical terms, he explains this as the fermionic veto grid.
Okay, fermionic veto grid. That sounds a bit heavy. I mean, we talked about the pulse being a bosonic permission field. Now we have fermions.
Let's break it down simply. Bosons are particles that love to share space. They allow pure overlap. But fermions, like the electrons and protons making up your body, they strictly obey the Pauli exclusion principle.
Okay, so they refuse to share space.
Absolutely refuse. It is the absolute refusal of overlap. The universe is essentially saying, this is not that.
So if the pulse is the universe merging everything into unity, the lock is the universe carving out distinct boundaries.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how this literally carves out our memories. It creates categories. It builds the entire fortress of our distinct ego and identity.
It's the ultimate bouncer at the club of reality, keeping things separate.
Yes, and these are not metaphors. As per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, these are living mathematical and physical operators actively managing the flow of entropy.
That is just incredible. So we have this intense tug of war happening, the Sfarana pulling everything into unified coherence, and the Vibhakta locking it down into distinct, separate reality.
The pulse and the lock.
Yes. But this naturally brings up a really big question. If consciousness is just this constant, massive cosmic oscillation of collapsing and dividing, Where do we fit into this?
What do you mean by we?
Well, where is the me in all of this? Am I just helplessly bouncing back and forth between unity and separation?
Ah, I see. No, not at all. As per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, the self is not an object tumbling around inside this cycle. The self is the junction.
The junction, like the meeting point.
Exactly. He uses the term sakhan, which means the witness. You are the invariant observer standing at the exact boundary where the wave of unity meets the wall of separation.
Oh, wow. So I am the stillness in the center of the oscillation.
You are. And this introduces a brilliant concept of controlled instability. Because stable awareness requires a perfect, delicate balance.
Right, because if things get out of balance, I'd imagine reality gets pretty weird.
It absolutely does. If we have too much pulse, too much of that bosonic coherence, the ego just dissolves into a void. You lose your stable center.
And on the flip side, if we have too much lock, too much of that rigid fermionic exclusion,
Then the mind becomes completely mechanical. It becomes rigid, isolated, and totally lifeless.
so consciousness is literally the rhythm, the middle path.
Yes, it is a living ledger. It is constantly accounting for what merges and what separates. The universe is literally auditing itself through this living boundary, which is you.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me, because this cosmic operating system, it sounds so beautifully spiritual and abstract.
It is incredibly profound.
But as per Captain Ajit Vanakale, this isn't just metaphysical philosophy. It translates directly into hard biology.
Yes, it is fully grounded in the physical form.
Right. He proves that it is a literal Rakad program running in our warm, wet bodies. So if this oscillation is the software, what is the hardware? How does our biology run this at room temperature?
That is the genius of the revelation. Because modern physics usually says quantum coherence gets destroyed by heat. But Captain Ajit Vadakayil outlines the exact biological hardware that makes this dual symmetry possible. First, we have microtubules.
Microtubules, those are the little structures inside our cells, right?
Yes, but here they act as coherence fibers. They are shielded, hollow tubes that synchronize cellular vibrations across the entire brain. They sustain the spharana, the unified pulse, without the body's heat destroying the data.
That is brilliant. Shielded fiber optics in our cells. Okay, what else?
Next, we have coherent water domains.
Coherent water. I mean, our bodies are mostly water, but how is it coherent?
Inside the cell, water structures itself to transmit entropy waves. It creates something called second sound.
Second sound, that sounds almost like magic.
It's pure physics.
Yeah.
It allows the system to transmit information rapidly and perfectly without losing anything to friction. So the water is the transmission network for the unified pulse.
Okay, so microtubules and coherent water handle the pulse, the unity. What handles the lock, the vibhakta?
For that permanent rigid ledger, we look to DNA.
Really, DNA acts as the lock.
Absolutely. As per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, each base pair in your DNA acts as an orthogonal slot.
Orthogonal meaning completely independent, right? Like right angles?
Yes, refusing overlap. It is the ultimate expression of the fermionic veto grid in biology. It locks in your distinct identity. So your biology is not just a stage for consciousness to sit on. It is the highly advanced physical execution environment that allows these quantum invariants to function.
It is just so elegant. But because this is a true operating system executed by our biology, that means it must be testable, right? We have to be able to feel it in our daily lives.
Oh, we do, every single second.
So let's look at the real-world proof. There is a highly relatable example from the text that I love. If I reach out right now and I press my hand firmly against the desk here.
A completely ordinary action.
Right. Normally, I just think of that as matter touching matter,
Right.
physical resistance. But in this framework, when I touch a surface, it's not just physical resistance. Is it actually the universe proving my identity?
It is. As per Captain Ajit Vadakayil, that physical resistance is tangible exclusion.
Tangible exclusion.
Yes. When the table pushes back against your hand, that is the Pauli exclusion principle in action.
Yeah.
It is the world definitively saying no.
Wow.
And that no confirms that the self has not dissolved into the environment. It is real-time feedback that your distinct identity is real.
That is just,
That's
it gives me chills. So a table being solid is just the universe refusing to let me blur out of existence.
exactly. It validates your ego boundary. And we can actually see this scientifically, too. It is completely measurable.
Like with brain scans.
Yes, through EEG and fMRI. This framework sits beautifully alongside modern neuroscience, but it adds a vital proxy. It states mathematically that consciousness equals the product of integration and segregation energies in the brain.
Integration being the pulse and segregation being the lock.
You've got it. Both must be present.
which perfectly explains our different states of mind. Let's just look at a few, like right now, everyday wakefulness.
In wakefulness, you have a beautifully balanced oscillation. The pulse and the lock are equal.
But what about deep sleep, or when someone is under anesthesia?
In those states, there is a total collapse of both operators. The system temporarily stops the high-energy oscillation, so the subjective experience fades.
That makes total sense. And what about when things misfire, like during a neurological seizure?
During a seizure, brain scans show runaway coherence, massive integration.
No too much pulse.
Exactly. The spora overwhelms the system, and there is very poor differentiation. The lock fails, so you lose conscious control.
And I imagine psychedelics do something similar.
Yes, they artificially heighten the coherence networks while suppressing the segregation. So the boundaries blur. You feel pure unity, but you lose the stable anchor of the self.
Because the fermionic veto grid is being suppressed.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean when we really step back and look at the majesty of this deep dive?
It means everything changes.
It really does. The hard problem of consciousness just dissolves entirely because we stop looking for a static thing, a ghost in the brain, and we realize we are a dynamic law.
Yes, the rhythm of unity and distinction.
Pulse, lock, loop.
It truly is the scale of the Kalki revelation for the millenniums. You are not inside the system looking out, you are the system auditing itself. Bosons unify, fermions exclude, and consciousness is the living oscillation between them. As Captain Ajit Vadakayil would say, Apadithan.
That is so powerful. So to you, listening right now, next time you take a deep breath or simply feel the solid ground beneath your feet, remember, that is the universe actively refusing to let you dissolve. It is the cosmos breathing itself into form exclusively through you. The seal holds.